Welcome everyone to Screams After Midnight, and it is the festive season. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Tim.
Oof.
Woof. Bit a rough year, Timmy? Is that what you're saying?
I just had too much pork tonight.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the stress of being a new father, or
No.
pandemic
No,
still making life stressful. No, just
Thursday night is pork night at my house. It's pork for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So it's just a lot of pork today.
Thursday night is pork night in my house. That is a hell of a sentence. I'm not gonna lie. Welcome everyone. This is a horror movie podcast. We get together and we've watched a horror movie. We talk about it. It's really quite that simple. And it is December, which means it is our yearly tradition, of course, of doing some Christmas horror. So today we are finally getting to one that's been on the to-do list for probably like 3 or 4 years at this point. Like this has almost been done every December for years, and finally it's like we got all the big heavy hitters out the way. We could finally devote time to Santa's Sleigh from 2005, starring Bill Goldberg. So that's what we're talking about today. We'll start spoiler free. We'll give you warning before we go into it and all sorts. Tim, are you familiar with Mr. Bill Goldberg, but not being a wrestling person?
He's some type of wrestle man. That's all I know.
He is indeed a wrestle man, yes.
Did he win AWE or whatever?
AWE?
Does he have some type of belt? I don't know.
I mean, he's won belts, yes. They don't tend to keep them forever, Timmy. That's not. They win them, then they lose them at some point. That's usually how it goes. I mean, he was done by this time, I think. Like, cause he was a WCW guy. That company went under. He was in WWE for like a year, and then he left that in like April 2004
to make Santa movies.
To be in movies. I mean, he was in movies long before then, though. He was in the fourth Universal Soldier in 1999. I remember that.
Okay.
Quite vividly. He was one of the bad guys in that movie. But yes, out of nowhere, in 2005, he was in a Christmas film called Santa's Sleigh, spelled, of course, S-L-A-Y, as in to slay. Like, yeah. like let's say there's a vampire, right? And you need to take care of them. You might slay them, like the Slayer, like Buffy, and the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
There you go. I wasn't sure where you're going with that at first, but you got there.
You weren't? Was it obvious from the second I started emphasizing the word slay? You're out of practice, Timmy. That's all it is. That's fine. That's fine. Had you seen this? It's pork night. Welcome everyone, it's pork night. What's Wednesday?
I don't know. I froze up. I was trying to think of something funny and I couldn't. I couldn't think of anything funny. The truth is, we just eat whatever. We don't have we don't have specific days.
Well, I was going to test you for every single day of the week until you crumbled. You crumbled on the very first question. The very first one I asked, you completely just fell into the fetal position and said, I'm sorry, it was just a joke. I have no more funny things to say.
I couldn't take the pressure. The lights were getting hot. I was like, sweat was starting to come down my forehead.
Oh, dear. So, you hadn't seen this before either, right? This was a first time watch for both of us. I
had seen the opening before. And I don't think I ever got past that part.
Okay, interesting. So yeah, the basic premise of Santa's Sleigh is that Santa is actually evil. He's actually Satan's son. Santa's the son of Satan.
Makes sense.
And he's going around killing people over Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. There's a bit more to it that gets into in the spoilers as to why now, and why he's not been killing people for all of our lifetimes, but it gets into that. Don't worry, there's a reason.
Yeah, don't worry.
If you care, if you're concerned. So that's basically it in terms of the plot. We've got a pair of teenagers who are our main characters, and
Claire from Lost.
There's a lot of faces in this actually.
Actually, yeah.
The legendary actor James Caan is in this film. Rebecca Gayheart from Scream 2 and Urban Legend is also in the early part of the film. The guy who almost married Daphne in Frasier, he's in there.
Yep.
So, and the main guy who I didn't know his name, but like I was like, he looks kind of familiar, like. And I think I've seen him in a couple of not Goldberg, the main kid, the main teenager, Nicholas.
Okay.
I was like, he seems familiar. I feel like I've seen him and I think I've seen him in a few things, but one thing in particular stood out when I looked him up at IMDb, Timmy.
Okay, is it something of the Lep persuasion?
No, it's not a Lep movie. At least if he was, I didn't go far enough to find any Lep movies. Admittedly, maybe it wasn't a Lep movie too. But there was something.
Is it a movie we've done on the show?
It is a movie we've done on the show. And it was a theatre release, so it was a contemporary film. It was one that just came out when we reviewed it.
Well, how long ago are we talking? Like a few years ago, like recent or early days of the show?
A few years now, I guess. Yeah, a few years now.
Was it a Bye Bye Man situation?
It is a Bye Bye Man situation. He's in the Bye Bye Man. I thought this kid's not very good. He must have not had much of a career. Oh no, he's got tons of credit. He was in the Bye Bye Man.
So did he play one of the main kids? Because
I think
he must have been pretty old then, because this was like what, 2005, and Bye Bye Man was like 2015, 16?
16 or 17, yeah. Yeah, they weren't kids in the Bye Bye Man. They were all like 20-somethings that lived.
They were like in college or something, right? Like,
oh, maybe you're right. Maybe they were. I don't know, things skew, don't they? They skew. So, Santa's sleigh, Goldberg, dressed as Santa, is going around the town, killing people in a variety of wacky ways. And that is the basic gist of what the film is. So, I guess I'll ask the question. Tim, how did you feel about Santa's sleigh?
So, if I was going to rate just the opening scene, it would be a 10 out of 10, because that scene is I mean, there's so much going on. I feel like we can talk about the whole show, but sadly the movie does continue, and it's such a strong opening. I was really excited, like, oh, this is gonna be like a really crazy, wacky, over the top, cheesy movie. And then honestly, I feel like it gets kind of dull after that point. And, I don't find the main characters very compelling or funny. I mean, obviously it's not a good movie, but you're kind of here for the cheesiness and the over the topness. And I don't really get a lot of that from just kind of like the everyday main characters that we're following. And then like, the stuff with Santa is mostly funny, but I don't know. Honestly, at times it just felt like, all right, I mean, I'm getting a little bored with it. It's losing its magic a bit. It's not to say that it isn't entertaining. Like, I definitely had fun with it as, a cheesy, so bad kind of movie. But it doesn't really reach the heights that I was kind of hoping for.
Hey, 7 to 8 minutes, Tim. Can't argue with 7 to 8 minutes on time.
That's true.
It's a short one, baby. Yeah, like I guess I kind of agree. I would say that I was still pretty into it. It's just a fun bad time, particularly because of the Santa scenes and some of the sort of the jokes and kind of the silliness that came with that. Probably for about half the movie or so, I would say. I think once it kind of gets more deep into like him chasing the main characters, and it goes into the backstory and like the actual ending and resolution and all that, all just feels a little bit like this is how we're wrapping this movie up. Like, we're not doing some insane kills. We're doing this. I'm like, this is not what I want from the end of this movie. Do other things, please. Violent things, preferably.
Yeah.
So
I mean, this might sound a little crazy, but actually could have maybe done less with like a lot of the lore stuff and maybe just focused on. Like, maybe we don't need justification for all the things he's doing. Maybe Santa just snapped.
I mean, I'm okay with a little justification, but like, I don't want it to become the linchpin that the entire third act is going to start to revolve around. Like, I would rather it be just like, no, we have to kill Santa. So that's like, we have to set some traps. We have to do some fun stuff, or whatever. I would still recommend, like, if you like good bad movies though, and if you want like a fun like, Christmas horror movie that you've not seen this one, I'd still recommend it as a decent enough watch. Like, you know, it's not.
You can watch it for free on Peacock.
You can watch it for free on Peacock, or you can spend $1.99 on iTunes for it, like I did. Not for rental, for purchase. I own this now. This is.
Oh, okay. Well,
Santa's slave for life. Do you know what's funny actually is that. So one of the gimmicks, one of the running things that always seems to happen with wrestlers in movies, and this happened with Goldberg in Universal Soldier of the Return, where he did his move, right? He did the spear, or at least he tried to at one point in the movie. And he kind of does it in this at one point. He sort of like, it's not exactly a spear, but it's kind of a spear where he jumps through like the counter of like the deli to like jump at someone, and it's kind of a spear through like a glass counter. I was like, okay. But what stuck out to me this though is at one point I swear they actually put a knockoff version of his entrance music into the score. You wouldn't have recognized it, but like, I think anyone who knows Goldberg's old music might hear just a little bit of the melody from his old music in this movie, and it really like made me chuckle a little bit. I was like, really, you thought you wanted to put in a little bit of like like we're not just saying this is Santa, we're actually really driving home the fact that this is Goldberg Santa. Like,
please tell me his entrance music was the 12 Days of Christmas.
No. No. It was not. Yeah, there's a lot of remixes of Christmas songs in this. A lot of rock versions of Christmas songs, a lot of stuff like that.
A lot of Christmas song references.
A lot of Christmas song references too. Yes. And one very weirdly delightful Transformers reference that I was not expecting.
Wait, did I get that?
Yeah, the present he gets.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So, yes, it's very Christmassy, right? There's a lot of Christmassy things going on.
Get you in the Christmas mood. I'll tell you what, it's a lot better than that new Home Alone movie.
Oh, I've not watched it yet. It's not good.
Oof, it's bad.
I feel like that and 8-Bit Christmas are both going to be on the watch on stream list for the month.
8-Bit Christmas was okay. There, like, I didn't think it was amazing, but I should say my, during October, my one rule is, we can only watch horror movies.
Yes.
Because I love horror movies, but my wife, she loves Christmas movies, so we watch a lot of Christmas movies around this time. But 8-Bit Christmas wasn't bad. I didn't think it was like outstanding or anything. I just watched it. I was like, it's kind of cute. It gives me a little bit of nostalgia vibes, whatever. I guess I can't really give too much about the new Home Alone, but I will say it's like the plot is very, very convoluted in a very weird way, where it's like, I don't know why, like why are they trying to make it this messy, and I can't really root for anyone because it's very strange. Yeah, it sucked. But I'm 35 years old. It's a movie for 3-year-olds or something. I don't know.
And your wife.
And my wife, yeah.
Yes.
She didn't really like it either, to be fair.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Like it would. Honestly, like, let's be honest. The standard of which Christmas horror tends to be at, this is actually all right. Right. This is not a bad watch, I would say. But I'm not raving about it. There's definitely like doesn't stick the landing. Right. It's not something that gets a glowing recommendation. There's definitely some individual moments. The opening sequence in particular stands out as being crazy enough to being worth recommending.
Yes.
But it's almost like it's one of those movies where it's like, okay, we have big muscly Santa going around killing people, and it's almost like it stops trying to do anything with that at a certain point in the film. Right? So all the jokes that it has with its premise, it does quite early on, and then it just kind of keeps doing them. Whereas if they just kept finding new ways to like have fun with the premise, it probably would have just been a more like easily to recommend silly, fun, bad movie. But
I mean, here's the thing. I'm not that hard to please. I like an evil Santa. You stick someone in a Santa suit and have them go hog wild, and I'm usually going to have a good time. But yeah, like, we just needed more of that. Yes.
So yeah, the kills are fun for the most part. There's a couple of them that look a bit shit. There's a bit, a little bit too CG. This to them, and this is 2005 direct-to-video CG, so like set your expectations accordingly. But some of them are witty enough or have enough of a little like sort of snarky humor to them. Yes, witty. What's wrong with witty?
I was just I imagine you just watching it and going like, oh, that was a jolly good kill.
Is that an impression? Is that supposed to be an impression of me?
Oh, that kill was quite fun. I think I'll tell the chat about that one.
Apparently I'm a rich Englishman living in a country house somewhere. Going by that impression.
Good times.
What, this right now? I'm not convinced, but sure. I guess we'll give the spoiler warning so we can just talk about the movie, because we have to dive into this opening sequence. So spoilers.
Kinda unwrap it.
We have to unwrap it. Yes. Spoilers for Santa's Sleigh. From henceforth, you have been warned. So they start off with a. Was that a Friday the 13th bit of music you were impersonating there?
Maybe.
I'll roll with it. So
it's horror related.
We start off with
horror adjacent, I guess.
A Christmas dinner, well, Christmas Eve dinner, I suppose, with a classical family. I would say. James Caan is the older husband here, and this is how I think. Honestly, it wasn't 100% clear to me. I just kind of deduced it from some of the other lines, but I got that he was married to a younger, hotter wife, right?
This is Fran Drescher,
right? But then,
do you not know who Fran Drescher is?
No.
You never watched The Nanny?
No, I've never watched The Nanny.
Okay, there's a big sitcom here.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry that I've never seen The Nanny.
Okay.
Right, but she is like under the table flirting with, I think, James Caan's daughter's boyfriend or husband, I should say.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah.
Who? This was also someone else I recognized. This is Chris Kattan, who was a SNL cast member growing up, and then you may remember him from. You ready for this?
Oh God.
Let me make sure I get it right. It was the House on Haunted Hill remake that he was in.
Oh, I mean, it's been a long time since, so I don't really remember, but interesting name to pull out there.
Most people probably know him from what the hell is it called? That movie with Will Ferrell. Shoot, I can't remember it.
Talladega Nights.
No. It was like one of the first movies. Is based on a SNL sketch they had where they were the guys dancing. You know, they would go to the clubs and dance, and like a woman would get in between them, and they basically just like each just dance on her until she runs away, and they're stupid, goofy guys. You know the one I'm talking about. The Night at the Roxbury. That's it.
Totally got that. Yeah.
Do you just not watch movies? What the hell's wrong with you?
I thought like Will Ferrell.
So then you don't like Elf, which was a movie with Will Ferrell and James Caan?
I've seen Elf. It was okay. It was inoffensive as far as Will Ferrell movies goes, but not a fan.
Well, James Caan was in that as well, so he loves making Christmas movies.
Apparently. I was going to say, there's no connection to this other than the fact that it's a Christmas movie. But yes. So, yes, and then the wife of the guy, the daughter of James Caan, is Rebecca Gayheart from Scream 2 and Urban Legend. And she's like, I want a faithful husband for Christmas. And right as this is happening, like... the mother-in-law, or the stepmother, I should say. The stepmother is like, oh, good luck with that, and then starts squeezing her husband's leg under the table, to which he responds by saying, yes, it's time to gets stuck in, and then he gives her a quick fingering, and she goes, "Ooh, this is happening at the table in front of their spouses who happen to be father and daughter."
Yeah, they're not trying to like hide it at all. Like there's not even an attempt to be like a little coy or anything.
Yeah, like the way they're speaking, it's like it's not even double entendre at this point. It's just, oh, I'd like to give you a good sausage.
I would like to finger you. It's like, all right.
And then there's two other young women who I assume are Rebecca Gayhart's younger sisters. At least that's what I think. I'm not entirely sure.
And
there's a dog. Yes,
there's a dog
with a little Christmas bed.
Sure.
So right away, these characters are all really cartoony, and I was glad that some of them were just when I realized they were just here for the opening kill sequence of them all dying. I was like, okay, I'm glad, because half of them were either phoning it in or just bad actors. Obviously, I'm not referring to James Caan because he's always like a legend, and I know a lot of great films, but you know, your boy Kattan, though, he wasn't doing much for me in this scene. or was your lady from the nanny? Was she the titular nanny?
She was, yes.
She was, okay. That makes it easy.
Yeah. She was working in a bridal shop in Flushing, Queens, and her boyfriend kicked her out in one of those crushing scenes. That's from the theme song. So.
Okay.
Why don't you do a stream where you watch like the pilot of The Nanny?
No one's been clamoring for it. This is the first I've ever heard of this show, so it's not like anyone's been saying, "Hey, you need to watch The Nanny." You not seen The Nanny? You get into that nanny.
I mean, like, I wouldn't put it up there with like Seinfeld, but like it was a popular '90s sitcom. It went for quite a few seasons.
Sure. But then Santa, like, they all see the feet land at the fireplace, but of course this Santa doesn't crawl through the fireplace. He just busts through the wall, and rocks and bricks fly everywhere.
I saw a big red creature busting through the wall, and I thought, hey, is that the Kool-Aid Man?
Do you know what's funny is that the UK doesn't have Kool-Aid, right? So the Kool-Aid Man thing was never a thing here.
Okay.
However, I did see the parody of it called The Grapist.
Okay.
So that's what I thought of when Goldberg bust out the wall.
Okay.
Yes. I won't explain it. Just YouTube it to watch the skit to get the joke. It's just,
the Whitest Kids You Know, a funny sketch group.
Yes. That's the ones. And Goldberg very quickly starts murdering them all in a very violent fashion while they're all freaking out.
First, he kicks the dog into the fan.
He kicks the dog into the ceiling fan, which shreds the dog a bit. James Caan gets his hands knifed into the table.
And I believe at first we get Fran Drescher saying like she's going like Santa, and then she does her signature laugh, which was like that. And then and her name is Virginia, and so I believe Santa says like, yes, Virginia, Santa is real, which I think is from a song.
I'll take your word for it.
Okay.
That's that? Okay, you're done. All right, I thought it was going to be more to that. I think it's her death is actually quite gruesome, where she gets her head set in fire.
Yes.
And then like you see her after, like, because so Goldberg gets busy doing more stuff to the other family members, and then you see her again, and her hair's like mostly gone, and she looks like Jason Voorhees when he's like been in the water. And then he starts dunking her head in the eggnog until she dies. I mean, so not all the deaths here are funny necessarily. Some of them just die very quickly, and it's not like much of a. Honestly, there's so many quick deaths in this movie that maybe one of the issues is that I don't remember all of them because they happen so goddamn quickly that it's impossible to take them all in.
I think my thing is, I'd actually say a lot of the deaths aren't very memorable because there's just like I feel like a lot of him just kind of like kicking people into stuff or like flipping them over, you know, like yeah, like you remember, you know, Fran Drescher getting her hair lit on fire and James Caan getting you know, forks run into his hands, and like, you know, later on like the kill with the deli owner, like that sticks out. But then yeah, there's a lot that I feel like is just kind of people getting thrown into stuff, which I feel like is like a very wrestler thing.
It kind of is, actually. I mean, they're playing to his strengths, okay? That they're doing the things that make sense for him. So, I actually kind of like the last woman who dies. It's one of the younger women. Like, actually, no, it's not. It's Rebecca Gayheart's the last one to die. Because right before she dies, she says, "But I've been nice." Because, you know, naughty or nice.
Yeah.
And, you know, he kills her anyway. So,
now, one thing that... Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, so it's a very energetic opening scene full of lots of, like, absurdity.
Yeah, I absolutely love how over the top it is. The characters are very annoying, but to me, like, that made them very fun and memorable and campy, and, you know, also, you know, makes you really glad when they die. And then, yeah, just like the ludicrousness of, you know, Santa bursting through the wall and having these cheesy one-liners and...
The ludicrosity, you may say.
Ludicrosity. You know, and him doing all this stuff. Again, like, I feel like it has a lot of energy. It's really big, over the top. It's very, very dumb, but in a very fun way. And I just, unfortunately, I just really don't think the rest of the movie matches it. Not to say that the rest of the movie sucks or is a bore, but to me, like, this is definitely the highlight. I wish I saw more of this. And also, like, if you're wondering what this has to do with the rest of the movie, absolutely nothing. Like, we never find out who these people are. I have no idea why Santa cared about them, because the rest of the movie kind of seems to be on a mission, but like,
I just took this as where he arrives when he lands into, because it's the town's called Hell.
Okay.
It's Hell Township, right? So I assume this is where he lands. There is one other, because I thought there was going to be more of this, because there is actually one other random scene later on. On Christmas morning, there's some kids opening their presents, and it's just this one random little scene that isn't connected to anything else. But Santa has actually left them some presents, and the joke here is that the two young boys, like, swear a lot in front of their grandparents and stuff, and like, can we open some mother effing presents? Yeah, let's open some effing presents right now. And the old like grandparents also, just go on, children. Like, they're all kind of normal. But then they open their presents, and it's like little bombs that blow off their heads, and there's just like this really comical effect of them both sitting there with no heads. And then it cuts to one of the grannies, and she's like, "Oh, F," and just drops an F bomb. It was a funny little scene, but it is connected to nothing. I guess the only minor connection to this possible is that one of the scenes at the police station, there's a moment that made me laugh where you can see like one of the cops in the background like holding a present out like from away from himself, and it's like ticking. You can hear it ticking, and it's just like a background gag. And I'm like, oh, I guess that's maybe kind of connected to those bombs that killed those kids. But other than that, it's like it doesn't connect to a thing. It's almost like the movie came in at like just over an hour, and they thought, oh shit, we have to make that opening scene, and we have to make another couple of random scenes that we can just slot in as extra fun kills.
The only thing I didn't like about that scene though is, like, do we know if they asked for bombs for Christmas or?
I mean, maybe they've been reading some extreme pop propaganda online, and like they've committed themselves to a very dangerous cause. And I'm not going to get super political by actually naming any. I'll just leave it vague. But yes, so there you go. Yeah, we're introduced to our main characters after an opening title sequence, which does take a good few minutes. So even in its 78-minute runtime, there is a very extensive opening title sequence that shows you kind of some history in like an old book as the titles are coming up. But we're introduced to, was it Saul Rubinek, I think his name is? Yeah, Saul Rubinek.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
Okay.
Guy from Frasier and some other stuff. He owns a deli, and he's Jewish, and he's like saying Merry Christmas to his two young employees. He has two teenage employees. One is Claire from Lost, who's doing an American accent here, and the other is
true.
this guy who would grow up to be in the Bye Bye Man. So yeah, who got the last laugh here?
It's kind of like horror royalty because
Oh, what?
well, we got, he would grow up to be in the Bye Bye Man, and I believe Claire was in the Hills Have Eyes remake.
Yeah, that would be like a year later. Yeah, what's so funny? I was shocked because I checked the year this came out when I saw her and went, wait, this was after Lost started. Like I was
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I was because Lost started in 2004. Now it's possible that they shot this maybe around the same time she started doing Lost, and maybe they kind of lucked out that their actress was in a hit TV show at the same time. But
you know what? That actually does make sense because there's that one random scene where she just looks at the camera and says, "We got to get to the hatch."
Oh yeah, there's also a scene where she accidentally calls Nicholas Charlie for no reason.
Yeah.
Just out of nowhere. So I was genuinely surprised at that. This scene does have some more of this character stuff that I was hoping for more of, though, because there's this old woman who is just like this awful old bitch to everyone. She's swearing constantly at them. No matter what they say, she has some way of like complaining about how they said it. Because even if she's leaving, Ruben X like, hey, happy holidays, Mrs. whatever, and she's like, don't you say that politically correct crap to me. It's Merry Christmas, you piece of shit. And he's like, fine then, Merry Christmas, I'm sorry, Mrs. whatever. Is like, yes, quite right. And she turns around and she notices, and we've not even really been introduced to Claire from Lost yet, she's just kind of in the background thus far, and she turns around and sees her and just goes, whore, and walks out. Which, I was like, and she dies like in the very next scene because like Santa like makes her car go off up a snow hill and it flips and explodes. It's a really so right now I was like, oh, this is still entertaining. Like I'm still having a lot of fun with this. So it's after that it kind of starts to slow down a little bit. And
one thing I gotta say about that is, like, I can't believe, because like there are people that are still having the like, oh, you can't even say Merry Christmas anymore, like, argument, and it's like, this movie was like from 2005, and it's like, oh, like we haven't progressed at all. Like there are people that are still like, oh yeah, like, oh, don't say Happy Holidays to me. It's ridiculous.
16 years. That's how old this movie is.
I don't know. Sometimes I think like humanity might have just like reached its like a standstill where it's just like, oh, we're never gonna get better because there's like just too many dumb people that refuse to change. Like we're screwed. What are we gonna do?
Yeah, but the old ladies are 10. And
That's true. And like Santa has like I didn't realize this thing was supposed to be a reindeer at first. I thought it was like a bison.
It was huge. Yeah, it's really bulky. I think the idea is that because he's a bulky Santa, he's got a bulky reindeer.
That makes sense.
And I'm pretty sure I noticed a red nose at one point, so I think it's meant to be Rudolph.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, he has the one though.
Yeah.
Doesn't have the rest of them. Just Rudolph. But
I would say a horror movie about a killer Rudolph. That'd be cool.
Sure. Yeah.
Wait, wasn't that? Wait, didn't we watch a horror movie, an anthology that had a segment like that?
Oh, that sounds familiar, actually.
Yeah.
That sounds familiar. So maybe it's good enough for a 10-minute short, not a 80-minute movie. Yeah. But look, because the reindeer just like taps the back of her car and it sends it flying up a little like snow ramp, and then it flips and just explodes and she's dead, and like Santa's like, ha 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 ha. Yeah. If I was just another random Santa scene to hear, pretty much. So there's a running gag in the movie with like this preacher, because we see him like collecting money for charity at the church. He's like, be giving, don't give coins, give bills. And the payoff to this is that he immediately goes to the strip club and starts giving the bills to the strippers. But this leads to like just one of Santa's big scenes where he comes in, he starts killing. He kills the bouncers at first. He kisses a stripper. He does the obvious low hanging fruit of ho 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 as he looks at a stripper. Yeah. Because so it's clearly a true thespian and a true auteur project, this, where a writer put a lot of thought into it and he's trying to deliver the line with some real gravitas. Some of these deaths suck, some of them are kind of fun. There's one that I really like where he sort of picks up someone and just drops them, but their head like lands on the railing and it actually looks quite nasty because it's like the way it lands, even though the death itself's quite simple. And there's also one where he like grabs the. So there's a joke here actually. I'd forgotten about this. There's a joke here where he's going to grab the stripper pole to use as a weapon, and he says, "Oh, that's too disgusting," and he gets some like spray and wipes it down to clean it. And I'm like, well, first of all, you're wearing gloves. Secondly, like I don't know, the joke felt really forced to me because I'm like, it's not like some brothel. it's a strip club.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I think sometimes throughout the movie there's stuff like that doesn't work for me, where it's like, all right, now it's too obvious you're trying to make a joke and that's not funny. Like it's funnier when it's just like it feels more like you're living in the environment and it's just like this big goofy Santa that's just going around killing people and stuff. But it's like when he stops and looks at the camera, like, it might as well like wink and stuff. It's like that stuff is just trying too hard.
Yeah, that's what this is, because it stops for him to do this just because it's meant to be funny, and it isn't, but it's meant to be funny. Whereas what's actually funny is when after he's ripped out the stripper pole, he sticks it in some dude's mouth, and the top of the pole hits the light, so he gets electrocuted. I was like, oh, that was actually kind of, it's a bit over the top, and it didn't look great necessarily, but it was a funny enough death.
I thought it was shocking.
And then he ends up setting fire. I do like though that even when the fire like starts, there's enough shots just lingering on the topless woman running past with the big fake boobs, just so that you get a really good look before they die. Like, enjoy the boobs while they're here, cherish what you have while you have it. Like,
it's a good message.
These big tatty bojangles that are about to burn up.
Big tatty bojangles.
Tatty bojangles.
All right.
It's my Christmas term for boobs.
I don't hate it, I guess.
I stole that from a comedian, to be honest. It's not my word. I can't claim it, but
okay.
Yes. So yeah, I mentioned this, that although the preacher actually gets away because he actually keeps popping up later for more, just like, oh, isn't it funny that he's still around and he's still this sleazy preacher. Because you see him at the church the next day, because this is like Christmas Eve night, so on Christmas morning he's like, oh, and we have to pray for all the innocent lives lost in the fire at the strip club, which of course is an appalling affront to Christianity everywhere. And he starts reading out the stripper names that all died. And it's it goes a bit too far, but like the joke's whatever. It's like you're kind of waiting for him to get his big comeuppance at some point. But yeah, I thought I'll mention that because it's kind of separate from everything else still.
And also I did like when he leaves the strip club that the reindeer ate the valet.
Yes, that did happen. Reindeer's also got a vicious streak in him, apparently. So, but yeah, we're introduced to our two kids, Claire, which is what I'm calling her. I don't care what her name is in this. It's just Claire from Lost. She gives Bye Bye Man a ride home. And she clearly is into him because she puts on like some like toothpaste or something. She's like just freshening her breath a little bit before they get in the truck, and they talk about Christmas. And she comes and sees him later and tries to give him a present. And because he mentioned he wanted an Optimus Prime, and instead got an Easy Bake Oven as a kid, so he doesn't like Christmas very much. Although there's a stunning plot twist right up there with Leprechaun 2 later on, when we find out that he actually asked for the Easy Bake Oven. Same caliber, I would say. But she gives him a present, and he opens it, and it's a gun. And he's like, some dated terminology here. He uses he calls her a retard, basically. And
the opening had James Caan used a slur.
Yeah, he used the F word. Yeah, he used the F word. That one was really weird as well, because it was just like there was like no reason to bring that up. Like, I mean, not that there's any reason to use the word retard here necessarily, and like if you're trying to speak properly, but the way, at least in the context of the scene, like I get why he was like, "Are you crazy?" Like that's because that's essentially the sentiment that he's trying to say. There was the James Caan one was just kind of like, "Oh yeah, you're an edgy movie," you're saying edgy words, but she's like, "No, you silly nincompoop." It opens, and she opens the gun, and it turns into a transformer, and she says, "More than meets the eye," and he's all delighted with his Christmas present.
And there's kind of a weird I feel like they don't mention it a ton, but it seems like there is like a little bit of a plot thread about like her family like being like a little gun crazy or something.
Oh yeah, well it's almost like it's just there to justify why her brother and father are like at like they're shooting discs and stuff in the snow, and then they're there later on, just so we could have a joke where her father has a bazooka that he got for Christmas.
Yeah, they basically like stole they must have been inspired by like every Resident Evil game for the end of this movie.
So basically the next day it turns out Santa's actually hunting down the grandfather, because the grandfather's this crazy old guy who doesn't believe in Christmas. He actually thinks Santa's evil, and at one point the kid reads from the book that 1,000 years ago Santa, who was evil and killed people every year on Christmas Day, and the reason why Christmas Day even started to happen is because basically the Christians would have mass to try and ward off the evil day of slaying, because that's what it was. But Santa made a bet with an old man. What do we call it? What do you call this sport they played? The game they played?
Shuffling.
Shuffling. Thank you.
I don't think like they called it that back then, but it's basically what it amounts to.
Yeah. So they got the little disc things that they slide on the ice, and you have to get as close to the hole as possible without it falling in. And we get this like claymation sequence actually as he's like reading this. So they're going for the ultra Christmas vibes here, which it looks a bit cheap comparatively to other versions of things like this I've seen, but at least I appreciate the attempt. I'm like, okay, you're trying to make this Christmassy. Yeah, I can get on board with it. But basically the old man just wins, and the bet is that he's not allowed to kill anyone for 1,000 years if he wins. So that's why like the 1,000 years is up, Santa's back, he's ready to play.
And it's funny, like when he's looking at the kid's looking at the book too, he's like, oh hey, that took place in 1005 AD, that's 1,000 years ago. Like I don't think there's like really like dates and stuff in the Bible. Like I could be wrong, but usually like when you read those kind of things, it's not like, oh yeah, by the way, this happened July 22nd. Like
to be fair, I don't think he was reading the Bible though. It was like a special book.
Well, this kind of drove me crazy because when he takes it out, the kid, I don't know if you remember this, but he says like, what is that, the Necronomicon? But he pronounces it really weird. Do you remember how he said it?
Oh no, I remember him saying it, but I don't remember like how he said it.
Like I don't think he said Necronomicon, which was like the way I usually say it. I think he said like Necronomicon or something like that. Like something like weird. I was just like, what the hell?
If you want to know more about this book, go to necronomicon.com.
But I will say I do actually can't. Oh, sorry.
I just thought of a great idea for a horror romantic comedy called the the Necromicon.
I'd watch it.
Continue. I'm sorry. I had the thought. I had to get it.
It's not a bad idea because I feel like I feel like you don't really see a lot of mix of those two genres. I feel like you see other genres mixed quite frequently, but I can't really think of too many rom-coms.
Shaun of the Dead, I guess. The rom-coms on.
Yeah, I guess that would count. All right. Anyway, though, I was gonna say, I actually do kind of like this lore. Like it's very stupid and over the top. Like especially when they start saying like, oh yeah, like there has only ever been two immaculate conceptions, like Jesus and Santa. Like, oh okay. And the funny thing about it is like they go through it very quickly. Like he's just like, oh yeah, so Satan was like or Santa was Satan's son, and like I would have so many questions if I was this kid. But I mean, it's just very stupid enough that I kind of love it.
I have no problems with the lore at this point. Like that's like explanation with the claymation, the reading of the book. Like I didn't need anything else after this. But the fact that Santa's in town hunting down the grandfather, because the grandfather was the old man who played shuffling with Santa because he was an angel. And then he eventually gave up his immortality and became a human because he fell in love with Bye Bye Man's grandmother.
Which, like, it was pretty obvious, right? Like,
oh, yeah.
Like, you weren't shocked by this, right?
No. I mean, in the claymation itself, it even kind of looked like him.
He looks,
it was meant to be him, obviously.
Is it kind of weird, though? Like, I don't think they never really mention what happened to his parents, right?
I don't remember. No, I don't think so.
I don't think they're around. He's just hanging out with his grandpa. I mean, nothing wrong with that, but it's weird.
Yeah. So Santa actually goes to the deli. I don't know if there's like a reason why he specifically goes there, but he kills Saul Rubinek on Christmas Day.
He impales him with a menorah.
Yes. So right through the neck as well, actually. So it's a really interesting visual. And there's also there's like a lot of little jokes here where like when he's holding him up against the wall, he holds up his Jewish star and tries to like, and it sort of hurts Santa like he's like, I don't know, like almost like a vampire being hurt by a cross. Which actually there's a great line later actually when they try and shine a light in his face and he says, "I'm Santa, not an effing vampire," which I did think was pretty funny.
I think he says like, "I'm not effing Dracula."
Dracula, that was it. Yeah, it was Dracula specifically. But
that was funny.
I did like that line. I thought that was pretty funny. But it
I'm
also
trying to think. Are there no like specifically like Hanukkah related horror movies? Feels like that's like an oversight.
like
So usually like every holiday should have like at least one horror based movie.
Hanukkah.
Oh, there you go.
That's all I got.
Necronomica.
There's potential. There's a lot of little jokes here where like, he runs into the Amish people and he kind of like has like a little moment of or just these little things where you'll notice something and get a little bit weirded out by them. But it just so happens at this time, our young bye-bye man, he is at the store looking for gum, and the guy who runs this place is actually an actor I recognize. He's in The Dark Knight, and he's been in many other things. Amusingly enough, he was actually the villain in a movie with another wrestler. He was in a movie called No Holds Barred with Hulk Hogan back in the 80s. Okay. Randomly this actor's this guy here. And all this is here for, and I thought this was going to pay off later on, like because he mentioned he just moved to town. I thought, maybe he's going to turn out to be someone or something. And then he never comes back into it. All it's here for is that he happens to have a police scanner. So that our young bye-bye man will hear that something's happened at the deli, and he runs over and like gets the last dying words. He's like, "Santa's real, dead." And they take him to the police station to question him. I will say a lot of the things at the police station I did think were kind of funny. It sort of perked me back up a little bit at this point. There was a few things here. The cops were just like doofuses who were eating donuts, which it's an easy joke, but if you have the right sense of humor, it kind of works. All the deaths up until this point formed a Christmas tree in the map. I thought that was vaguely amusing. Like I said, the ticking box that was probably a bomb in the background. And later, when Goldberg has been through the police station and like kills everyone, like, and you don't see it, you see him just walking out after he kills the captain. And I like that there's like an outline on one of the bodies already. And then the other guy's got the Christmas tree like shape of the pins in his chest, and he's like, pinned to the wall. Which, by the way, those pins that you put into a poster like that would not hold up a human body. No way. Just not a chance. But it was absurd enough and silly enough. Do you know what it was? There was a lot of little jokes just on the screen. If you were looking for them, you could find a lot of little extra Easter eggs, and not all of them were great. But it felt like some effort went into just, it almost felt like it was a Naked Gun scene for a moment, just with like, there's all these little things on the screen you can notice and get a little bit out of. So I appreciate that. But Bye-Bye Man called in Claire to come pick him up. So they're driving home when a police car comes up behind them, but it's not a policeman, it's Santa. And
watch out.
Because they've heard that Santa killed someone before, they immediately get flaky and they make a run for it. So we get an action sequence where Santa is like on top of their pickup truck and like try to grab at them, and Bye-Bye Man's trying to learn how to use a shotgun and failing miserably. What more is there? I don't know. This is kind of where the movie basically runs out of steam, I would say. Because when the kids go back to the house and the grandfather kind of explains stuff and gives them some advice, Goldberg shows up and the grandfather just gets killed by like the reindeer running him over like really quickly. It's not really a big moment.
It's mostly just so they could do the joke.
Yeah, pretty much. And then they get away on a snowmobile, and they end up going to the high school. Because
It see, it kind of. I think part of the problem here is it feels very kind of aimless. Like, it's not like they have a goal, like, oh, if we go here, we can get this weapon to kill him, or like, oh, we can go tell this guy to help us. It's just kind of like...
Yeah, this is the perfect... I think this is a great point you're making, is that, like, the chase scene's fine, because I'm kind of glossing over the chase scene, which is Santa chasing them. He's on his sleigh, and they're on the snowmobile, and they're going past the shooting gallery stuff and all that, but he's throwing, like, Christmas presents at them, but they're bombs.
Oh, yeah, that was kind of funny.
So I was like, okay, that's pretty funny. That's just a fun little thing. What the movie really needed after this, though, is that when they do get away for a minute and catch their breath, they really should have had a moment where they go, okay, how do we fight him? What's the plan? What do we do now? And instead, there's just kind of this assumption that once it hits midnight at the North Pole, he'll stop because it's the end of Christmas.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's all they've got to go on. So it just kind of feels like they're running without much purpose. Santa's chasing them. They go to the high school, they break in, and... Well, I love the Dracula line, which happened during this sequence. The angel version of his grandfather shows up and challenges him again to another round of shuffling on the school ice rink. Which, I mean, some schools I guess have that, but I mean, I've never been at school that had that, but sure.
Yeah.
But you get high school ice hockey teams. I buy that some will have it.
Yeah, growing up, there was our high school didn't have it, but like one of the like rich kid prep schools had one.
Sure. Did your high school have a swimming pool?
No, we didn't.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah, but like those I think are kind of common some places, because I've definitely heard people that... Yeah,
no, they are, because the other school in my town had one. So it was like this, like, you have a swimming pool, you bastards.
I would have loved it. I love swimming.
Yeah. Then again, like, do I really want to use the pool that's been used by all the other students?
It's a great point. A very good point.
But no, I think a swimming pool's pretty common. I feel like an ice rink is much less common for, like... Yeah. I mean, I don't think any high schools have ice rinks in the UK, but like some do have swimming pools.
Yeah, although I do imagine I would... Yeah, as a very insecure kid during high school, the idea of having to, you know, like... put on like swimming trunks, you know, in front of like all my peers would probably have driven me insane. But
yeah, we did have basketball courts and stuff for PE and gym, although they didn't have seats or anything like that. They weren't for like showing games, they weren't for audiences.
Oh yeah.
Whereas just
for
yes,
private shows.
Shut up. Whereas in the US, I feel like every high school has a basketball court with seating.
Oh sure, yeah.
Yes, and probably an outdoor field for American football with seating, because people in the US actually go to watch high school sports for some reason, like a bunch of weirdos.
Very strange, yes.
Just getting a little dig in there, but yes.
I mean, I agree with you. I think it's weird.
Yes, I don't want to watch professional sports. Never mind a bunch of chumps in high school.
Yeah. Like it makes sense if you have a kid that's on the team, but if you're just like the local weirdo that's like really into it, like what's going on there? And
that's definitely, I mean how much of a thing it's real life is debatable, but it does, like, movies have me believing it's a real thing that some people just always go to the games, like so like sure, whatever.
I think there are people that have a hometown pride for some reason, but
yes,
I feel like I've just always hated wherever I am.
Yeah, there was actually a small joke early on where the main kid said something like what the hell, and the Griffin's like, don't use that word in vain. He's like, we live in hell, literally, we live in a town called hell. I got a minor chuckle out of it. So yeah, like, what
it's not the hell mouth.
But what I didn't want out of this movie was the conclusion being like a game between Santa and an angel playing like shuffling, and sure, Santa like betrays him and just throws him in the hole pretty quickly, and then the ending is just that he's chasing them on the sleigh and they run back to where all the shooters are, you know, the disc shooting, and luckily enough Claire's dad's got a bazooka and he blows up he blows up
Santa.
well, he blows up Rudolph in the sleigh.
Yeah.
Santa, as we find out, is actually just going home until next year, seemingly, because after everything happens, like he decides to, like Bye Bye Man decides to lie, and Claire's like, "Why didn't you tell us?" Like, well, there's nothing they can do now, and they might as well not fear like all the time. So let's just keep the lie. And we get a little scene at the end where Santa's at an airport because his sleigh's destroyed, so he's at the airport and he's wearing like biker gear and he's asking for a plane ticket, and that's the joke. It's pronounced Kattan, not Satan, apparently. No?
Hilarious.
Not enjoy that joke. The preacher might have died in the explosion though, because I think he was still on the sleigh.
Oh yeah, that sounds right.
Because for some reason, Goldberg decided to keep him on the sleigh knocked out.
Yeah. Yeah, this stuff, I feel like, I the movie's not very long, but already at this point I was kind of like checked out of it. It's kind of like you said earlier, like, yeah, the stuff at like the ice rink is just not very interesting or entertaining. Like, if you want the grandpa to come back for like 2 seconds to give the kid inspiration, like that's fine, but yeah, I don't need him to come back and like be the hero and do the shuffling or curling thing again that ultimately doesn't even amount to anything. It just doesn't feel like it's very interesting stakes, especially with a movie that's like as heightened as this. Like, at least if they're gonna do something like that, like make it really big and crazy, like have a like they have the little pit to hell, but I don't know, it still doesn't look very interesting. It's just like a little ice rink and stuff, and then to ultimately kind of have the, I guess, people that save the day or whatever, just like these random people that we have not like seen in the movie up until then, just come out of nowhere. I again, it's a very silly movie. Like, you shouldn't be looking for too much like logic and continuity in there or whatever. Like, it doesn't have to match perfect movie story format structure, but like, so at the same time, it just feels like kind of random.
It feels like our main character should not only have had more of a plan, but accomplish something, because it doesn't really feel like they do. So they feel very passive. Also, I almost forgot to mention this, but around the high school part of the film, getting at the ice rink, Santa all of a sudden has like fireballs that he can shoot from his mouth. Just out of nowhere, he starts doing that, and it's like, oh, okay, I guess that's the thing.
Yeah, and there's always stuff that you think is going to be like a bigger deal. Like, he uses the nutcracker at one point, and it seems like, oh, okay, this might actually be a weapon that they can use against him. But then it ultimately doesn't matter. And then, like, hey, it would have been great if he used that, like, Optimus Prime in some way. That would have been like a great setup in the beginning. But yeah, like, nothing comes of that. Like, it feels like there's just a lot of stuff that's just wasted.
I'll just FYI, that was not Optimus Prime. It was a Transformer. It was not Optimus Prime.
Yes.
Yeah, Chekhov's Transformer. It could have been. I did like the kill where he was sucking on a candy cane to make it sharp, and then he stabbed someone in the eye with it. I thought that was a neat little one.
Yeah, that actually happened to me once.
You stabbed in the eye with a candy cane?
I was sucking on a candy cane and it got really sharp, and then like I stabbed myself in the tongue. But I remember being like, candy canes can get sharp.
So this is based on reality, is what you're saying. This is like a factually correct
100%.
Yes. Yeah. Completely believable and relatable. I mean, I don't want to be too harsh though, because there's enough fun stuff, especially in the first half of the movie.
Yeah.
I think it's worth watching. The last half hour is a bit more of just like a slog. The last half hour feels like just a crappy direct-to-video movie, which is a shame, because it felt like all it had to do was keep up some of the jokes and like have the characters feel a bit more active, and give them a plan, give them something to achieve. And even if it failed, because that's the thing, even the time zone thing kind of fails. Because Santa's like, well, no, the North Pole is kind of where all time zones kind of merge, so Santa, Christmas ends when I say it does, and I'm like, well, no, technically it doesn't end when you say it does. It just ends when the last time zone finishes Christmas.
That's the same thing.
Yeah, which I don't know what the last time zone is. It's not quite the West Coast. I think there's like another one or two after that. What about Hawaii? What's Hawaii on?
Hawaiian time.
Is that, I assume that's further back than West Coast.
Yeah, we have some friends in Hawaii, and I think it's about 3 or 4 hours behind us.
That's actually more than I thought it would be, to be honest.
I could be wrong. I don't know time zones.
I didn't think Hawaii was that far away from the mainland.
I mean, I think it's at least a few hours.
Well, yeah, think about it though. Like one side to the US to the other side is only 3 hours of a difference.
Let's see.
You're not telling me the distance from the west coast of the US to Hawaii is larger than the width of the US, right?
There's a lot of water though.
The water adds time, does it?
Yeah, no, it's 3 hours.
I'm genuinely a little surprised it's that much. I thought it'd be like an hour or two, but okay.
Hawaii Aleutian Standard Time.
Oh my! Is that the last one? Is that the furthest back one? Is it after that you go back to like Japan? No?
I don't. I don't know. I didn't look up every time code.
I'm just curious. I'm like, what's the cutoff? What's the last place where Christmas has to end before Santa has to say, "Oh well, Christmas is done everywhere. I have to go back to the North Pole."
Wales.
Wales. You realize Wales is in the same time zone as me, right? Like it's not a different time zone. Just checking, because I never know what you.
Big fan of Wales.
Name a city in Wales.
London. Not the one you're thinking of, the one in Wales.
Oh, okay. I mean, I can only name you one city in Wales, but...
Dolphins?
No, Cardiff, Tim. Cardiff's the main city in Wales.
Yes.
Now, if you ask me to name a second city in Wales, I'm like, they have a second city?
Ooh, shots fired.
Because I can't name you any. But yes, there you go. I mean, I guess we're ready to rate this movie because I think we're just a bit done with anything to say about it. So, would you like to rate Santa's Sleigh?
This movie is a lot like getting a really comfortable pair of underwear for Christmas. It's nice, you're glad that it's there and your downstairs feels comfy, but at the same time, it's not the PlayStation 5 that you wanted,
It's a decent pair of underwear, not a PlayStation 5.
Exactly. So I think we're gonna go right down the middle and give it a 5. Obviously, we're grading this on the on the level of it, that obviously it's a bad movie. It's not like I wouldn't put this on the same pedestal as like Eyes Wide Shut or something. Like there's just not the same.
I'm just surprised that's the movie you jumped to give an example of a proper film.
Well, we all know it's my favorite movie.
We did not. We knew no such thing. I thought Leprechaun 2 was your favorite movie, but all right.
Second favorite. So obviously, we're looking at this at, so like, okay, like, I'm viewing it as a movie that you're coming with the expectation that, okay, yeah, this is dumb and silly and bad. But sometimes those movies can still be genuinely bad. So, so I think there is a lot of entertainment in the cheesiness and the over the topness. There's some fun kills. It is short, so even though I think there are times where it wears out its welcome, it doesn't feel like overly long or anything. So I was never bored by it, but at the same time, there isn't that little extraness to it that really puts it over the top and makes it like, oh my god, this is so crazy, everyone has to go out and see it, and oh man, I'm gonna have a party and with my friends and we're gonna watch it and have a good time. It's just it's okay. It does know what it is, which I think is good. Like it's not taking itself too seriously or anything, which sometimes can be a problem with these things too. So yeah, I'm just going straight down the middle and giving it a 5. It's a it's a good bad movie, but it's not the best in that area, and it's dumb holiday fun.
Yeah, it could have been worse.
Exactly.
Could have been worse. Yeah, there's definitely, like, I think alternatively, like, knowing what it is can go too far in that direction where you end up with your sci-fi Sharknado style thing, and like there's maybe a few jokes in this that are veering towards that kind of movie, and that's maybe, you know, where you're starting to feel it a little bit. This thankfully though is a little bit pre that era, so that's nice. But I'm thinking a good 5 out of 10, and I'm trying to, I'm having a hard time justifying it going up, and I'm having a hard time justifying it going down. So I think 5 out of 10 seems about fair. Again, with the conceit that we're talking about this on the level of an entertaining bad movie. So there you go. All-star cast.
Yeah, I was genuinely surprised by a lot of the faces in here.
Yeah, all-star cast. Written and directed by the same person, David Steinman. I wonder if we know any of his other work. He was assistant. This is the only thing he's ever directed or written. But he was the assistant to. So I don't know if you noticed in the credits one of the producers on this.
No.
One of the producers for this film.
I'm sorry, I did not watch the credits. I must admit.
One of the producers for this was Brett Ratner.
Really?
Who is a complete piece of shit by all accounts.
He's a piece of shit.
Yeah, but this guy was the assistant to him on Red Dragon, Rush Hour 2, The Family Man, and then he's listed as a production assistant on Castaway, What Lies Beneath, and Inspector Gadget, and that is basically his entire film career.
Okay.
So
I mean, it could be worse. I mean, some of those movies are okay.
Yeah, notable though, this is the only time he was given any type of like leadership role where he actually had decisions to make. You know, he was a helping hand. And what's interesting is that this is after all of his other credits, pretty much. I mean,
well,
so, oh no, he appeared to, I guess, in an interview in 2010. So that's the last so. Hopefully this didn't blacklist him. Hopefully, like, there's if he was blacklisted, there was a good reason for it, because it seems like he just left the cinema or the film industry after this. Maybe Goldberg was just traumatic to direct and he just couldn't do anything else with his time. He's like, nope, I'm going back to the butcher shop and I'm going to be a butcher.
Hey, it's an
That's what he's
honest
thinking. Yeah, Tim, you need to pose for the thumbnail, so let's get that done right now.
Okay.
I want to see some Yuletide festive vibes.
Okay.
3, 2, 1, pose. I love it. I love it a lot. So, there you go. So I will take this time to thank our Patreon producers for the month. So thank you to Tyler Hess, Cindy Palacios, David Short, Bold Now, Christopher Moy, and David.
They bold now. Star Wars.
Christopher Moy and David Brown. Thank you to you guys for being producers in this Christmassy month.
Hey, seriously, thank you.
Thanks for that, Tim. You can, of course, support us on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV for as little as $1 per month and get some bonuses for your trouble. The Screams After Midnight rewards aren't back in play yet. Once Tim's on the full weekly schedule, we'll have those back. But you do get early access at the $5 tier still, and you get bonuses for other shows. If you want to help keep all the content coming, then go and support us over there. But you can support us for free by simply hitting the like button, subscribing, dinging the bell for notifications, all those usual things that YouTubers tell you to do, or rating us 5 stars and giving us a review on iTunes or Podcast Addict or wherever you get your podcasts from. So please do any and all of those things. Thank you very much. But that is pretty much the show. That Screams After Midnight. This is our first of 2 Christmas specials this year. Hopefully you enjoyed the choice of Santa's Sleigh, and we have a potentially interesting film for the next one.
Yeah.
We could have went with
I might say that.
we could have went with an obvious choice. We chose something a bit more out there, and maybe it'll pay off. Maybe it won't.
Hey, that's what we're about, baby. We don't want to do the obvious stuff. Like, I'm sure there are probably people that are like, oh, what did you do with Die Hard or something. Like, no, we're not gonna do Die Hard, okay? First of all, it's not a horror movie.
Yeah, which
It's
is
not a Christmas movie.
It is a Christmas movie. You shut your filthy mouth. How dare you? But
and it's not a good movie.
Die Hard is so much better than most of the shite you like. Like it's not even a comparison. Mister, I gave Hellboy 2019 5 stars on Letterboxd.
Oh, be still my heart.
That movie was trash.
I had to stop rating things on Letterboxd because all you little Letterboxd snitches, all these people come in and message me, hey, why'd you give this movie like 3 stars? Like, hey, enough. I'm done.
Nothing fills me with more joy than someone whining that I rated their favorite movie like with like 2 stars. You're like, well, I love this movie.
I see some of your ratings. I'm like, okay, I just gotta sit here patiently and just wait for my comeuppance. The day of reckoning will come.
Okay. Someone's got to rate these bland ass Marvel movies like the 4 and 5 out of 10 they deserve.
And you leave my beloved Eternals alone.
Oh, I haven't seen Eternals yet, but I've not heard good things.
But if you have an unkind word about Venom 2, I will hunt you down.
I've not seen it yet.
I will come to Wales and I will kick every door down.
Okay, you can do that, Timmy. I have no problem with that. You can go to Wales and kick down every door looking for me. I am okay with that plan.
Good times.
Hopefully the audience agrees. Thank you for joining us, everyone. This has been Screws After Midnight. We will see you next time. So have a nice December, a pleasant Christmas, and we'll see you soon. So keep watching scary movies, and we will see you next time.